back to Layah Inspired podcast powered by Icon Plus. So before we start, I'm going to give you a really quick news announcement. So very excited to share with you that Icon 2.0 has launched. This is a power boost to the Icon network for next level decentralized finance and enterprise adoption. If you head over to my Twitter page, there is a post of the interview that I did with the founder, Min Kim. So you can check that out later. So that's really exciting for them. But without further ado, we have a very interesting guest today, somebody who's very infamous for blocking a ridiculous amount of people online. So I'm quite a fan of that, and I think we have a lot in common. So joining me is, of course, Hotep Jesus. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you. I've been following you for a while. I feel like we have quite a lot in common in terms of politics, crypto, blocking people online. But before we go into this, I do want to just sort of understand, because a lot of people don't know what Hotep is. I told some people that I was having Hotep Jesus on, and they were like, oh, I thought Hotep was his first name. So yeah, so that's the extent to which people don't know about Hotep. So tell us.
Yeah, Hotep has become sort of like a title, like sir, you know. So Hotep originally means peace or satisfaction in ancient Meta, ancient Egyptian language. It's become a cultural thing for what we call the conscious community amongst the Black community. Has a lot of roots in Harlem, New York, here on the East Coast. But I represent Hotep Nation, hotepnation.com. If you go to hotepnation.com, hit the menu button and navigate to the FAQ page, you can actually find out everything that we stand for and get a lot of questions sorted out and answered. I think we have a lot of conservative values. So you'll see a lot of overlap with us and the conservative right, as some people would term it. And I think we just believe in independence. We're not statist by any means. And all about like economics, right? Like, you know, what do you produce? And then how do you exchange that with others? And what do you give in the world that's going to nourish life, essentially?
So kind of like the good old expression, don't ask what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. I don't know, sort of like that personal responsibility a bit, adding value on your own without waiting.
That's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay to say that.
Yeah, that's pretty close. I wouldn't say identical, but yeah, you're right in that lane, right in that vein. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So this is interesting because conservative values and 2020 has been a crazy year. So a lot of things that I wanted to talk to you today about, well, firstly, mainly, you know, what's gone on this week with cuties. I know you got some opinions on that. Want to chat to you about BLM. But let's start with cuties first. So this is interesting because actually I posted why is Netflix normalizing pedophilia? And there's been a lot of backlash for that. For some reason, cuties has become politicized, right? For some reason, pedophilia has become politicized. I know from a lot of the things that I've read, you're sort of very much against what Netflix put out in terms of cuties. But why do you think it's being politicized? Why do you think we're sort of seeing towards the left, we're seeing more people sort of saying, well, actually, it's supposed to be for this, it's supposed to be for that?
Yeah, I've heard that argument. I couldn't stomach to sit down and watch the film. Even just from the clips that I saw, I couldn't stomach the film to even try and imagine. So there, you know, it's like, what I heard was they're trying to shed light on the exploitation of children. But in my interpretation, they're doing that by exploiting children. So I don't get it. Like, I think there's another way. You know, I don't know what kind of weird shit they got going on in France that would think this is cool way to get across a message. But I feel like it's counterproductive, it's counterintuitive to what they purport their purpose is or their mission is with the creation of this film. I think it's disgusting. And as a quote unquote Hotep, we have studied the work of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing in her book, The ISIS Papers. She predicted this, she predicted the normalization of the LGBTQ lifestyle, which I have no problem with. And I believe they deserve the right to marry and the right to associate, etc., and to practice that lifestyle. But my ancestors, like Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, has warned us that the next stage of this would be pedophilia. And
But that's so, yeah, go on, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting because when we talk about LGBTQ or whatever, we sort of say, yeah, okay, that, we agree they deserve the right to marriage and so on, equal rights and everything. But why would pedophilia sort of be thrown into that bracket? Why is that the next step forward?
Yeah, well, I couldn't answer that question directly because people might try to truncate the clip and misconstrue my words. But instead, what I'll do is I'll tell you a historical reference. And if we flash back to Greece, in Greece, homosexuality was normalized as long as it was between an older man and a young boy. But if it was two men diddling, two grown men diddling, then it was considered homosexuality. But otherwise, it was considered grooming, so to speak.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, I believe Plato has, or Socrates has recorded some of these acts to which they, I believe, the author did not agree with. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Anybody can infer from that what they will.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of, I know you said you're sort of not based on the West Coast of the States, but it sort of reminds you of like laws that we've seen come out recently in California. I don't fully know, I don't fully follow it, but it's something like the laws have been reduced if it's the same sex and it's between someone underage and overage or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
you see the alignment.
Yes, I'm seeing some alignments, absolutely. But I mean, it's interesting. I've had people I totally agree with you when you say, if you want to raise the issue about exploitation, there's no need to exploit children in doing so. I was talking to somebody actually earlier today about this. I don't know how much you know about the UK or grooming gangs or whatever, but grooming gangs is a big issue in the UK.
Grooming what?
Grooming gangs.
What's that?
Yeah, okay, cool. So you don't know about grooming gangs. So basically, so just the facts of the matter is we have a big issue. So there's it's the Pakistani community, not obviously all of them, there's a fraction. It's a pocket of society, and they prey on white, poor English girls between the ages of, I don't know, like 11 to 15 or whatever, and they groom them, rape them, and so on. So that's been a big issue in the UK. Now, Netflix and the BBC actually did a documentary on this, and they were able to highlight the issue without whetting the appetite of the groomers themselves, essentially. That's what I'm getting at. So I to some extent, I appreciate, okay, fine, so you wanted to shed light on an issue, but it's very odd that they had to exploit children doing so.
Yeah. Such a terrible decision to make. I don't understand what the people who signed off on this were thinking.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I keep hearing things like Hollywood is full of all sorts. So
Hollywood.
That's all I hear. That's all I hear. Okay, cool. So another really interesting topic this week is Kanye West. So Kanye's doing Kanye. He's going on those rampage. And I think Kanye's an interesting one because he often speaks his mind and sort of gets trampled on for doing so, right? He gets a lot of hate for speaking his mind. I kind of wanted to get your opinion and know where you're at with that. And he's a Trump supporter. He's not a Trump supporter. He's very anti this whole victim mentality. He's spoken a lot about slavery and how people are enslaving themselves. Just want to know, where are you at with that? Do you have any sympathy for Kanye, or are you just sort of not on that vibe?
So what good is it to have a free body if you don't have a free mind? And that's where we are right now. That's the crossroads of the big political conversation is, are you free to think as you wish? If you're not free to think as you wish, you definitely can't speak as you wish. So we've reached a point where people are committing thought crimes, and Kanye is committing speech crimes, according to people who don't believe that we should have free minds. So again, I would like to reiterate that we are in a position where we're faced with mental slavery. And that's what Kanye is always alluding to, is the fact that people aren't free. You make a certain decision to say, hey, look, I'm not supporting a Democratic candidate. And all of a sudden it's, oh, you're trying to throw the election, right? Like, so I don't have the freedom of choice. You're saying if I don't make this decision, then I must be compromised or something must be wrong with me, right? And that's the exact freedom that they're trying to take away from us right now. And Joe Biden said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black, right?
It's crazy.
And as inappropriate, I should say, as inappropriate as that comment was from him, it is actually quite also accurate. If we go by the numbers.
Yeah, by the numbers. Yeah.
If we went by the math, that would be true. So in some ways, I looked at him and I said, you scumbag for saying that. But then thinking objectively, I'm like, he's just cocky and he knows exactly the type of control the Democratic Party has over the black nation, the black people in America. And I think that is the manifestation of the mental slavery, the fact that you can basically fearmonger people into saying, vote or die. Right? Like, so Kanye's been going crazy on Twitter recently, as people would say, going crazy. I would say
Yeah,
he's
do you
going.
think it's crazy or?
No, I think he's doing what you do when you get power, right?
Yeah.
He got fuck you money. And when you get that type of money, you start acting like it. And you start exposing some of the things that are wrong with the world. Like he was talking about the contracts that record labels have. I think it's time to, I'm not a statist, so I don't believe that the government should get involved in these contracts, but I believe that we, the people, or industry who gets involved with these record labels, have a power to negotiate better contracts. We have negotiated better contracts in the world of VCs, the world of startups, right? And those contracts have become quite fair to both the investor and the startup. Those contracts do not look anywhere near the same as far as our label is concerned. And the relationship is actually quite similar, where the artist is actually the startup, but has no equity in the thing that he started up.
Yeah.
It doesn't even work like that in the startup world. Usually you start off with equity and people buy pieces of equity. Whereas when you enter into a deal with these record labels, they start off with the equity and they tell you what you're going to get from your product or your idea, your startup. So I think it's a fight that needs to be had. And I love that he's having it. Sam Cooke had that fight. They murdered him. A lot of Michael Jackson had that fight with Sony.
I'm with you on the MJ one.
Yeah, and we know what happened with the late great MJ. So and Kanye brought that up as well. But I've been following Kanye. I've never deviated from being a supporter of his, an advocate of his message. I love Kanye. I love what he does. And I think he should just keep doing it.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I think, a lot of interesting things there. Let's go back to the Biden comment, right?
Okay.
So you're not black if you don't vote Democrat. I think Biden is playing the ultimate game of identity politics. And you're right. Like, he totally knows that he's doing it. And I think it's very interesting to sort of hear, the Democratic Party being the party which will say, we will be your saviors. Meanwhile, sort of not allowing you to have your own independent thought, which in itself is, to be honest, the most racist thing I've ever come across in my life.
Yeah. I was thinking today about this new premise called inclusivity is actually masquerading as exclusive. No, exclusivity is masquerading as inclusivity.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. If you don't do it the right way.
Yeah, it's like, the left purports to be inclusive, right? And it's like inclusive of what? Your selection of who you decide to include is actually exclusive because you exclude an entire school of thought because you don't agree with it. So inclusivity is actually exclusivity. And it's rather disgusting that they would try to play mind games with us like this.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. And I think it kind of leads me on to the next thing I want to sort of talk about, which is victim mentality. And you talk about, Hoteps being awake. I think that's the word you used, or, Kanye West is awake.
Mm-hmm.
People sort of, when the riots, the BLM riots were going on, there was a lot of pain on the streets. And rightly so, and, rightly so, I can feel the pain all the way from the UK. But my question to you then is, why are people sort of, I guess, like you put it, like Kanye put it, sort of still enslaved in their minds and unable to sort of wake up? You talk about people having to lift themselves up from their own bootstraps, essentially.
Yeah. Well, the program was installed in the parents and the grandparents.
Right.
So,
Program, you mean mentality?
yeah. I mean, the human mind is a computer, and we very much have an operating system that's given to us. From the first time we start interacting with people, we start getting these downloads from our mother, our father, and then the greater environment. And people aren't selective with what they allow their mind to download. And that's really what this is about, being selective in your downloads. People are downloading a lot of propaganda. People are downloading a lot of misinformation. The grade schools are the first places of propaganda. The liberal universities are the second level of propaganda as far as education is concerned. Thank you very much, baby.
What are you drinking?
A bit of coffee.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, so you have that first problem, which is the parents are programmed, right? I got lucky, when I landed on this rock. My father was quote unquote woke, right? He was awake.
Like real woke or like
real woke.
Like woke
real
2.0.
woke. Yeah, red pilled out. So I had those seeds planted early, So, and this kind of segues into the pull yourself up by the bootstraps conversation, right? Because there's two sides of this coin. There's one is you can pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and the other one is you don't even know how to find your bootstraps.
No, that is
all right.
perfect, yeah.
And I think that's the bigger problem. We have to show people how to find their bootstraps. We got to show, yes, they can pull them up. But sometimes we got to turn the light on for them so they can find their boots and get them on, and so, for example, I was on a crypto pod a couple of weeks ago with Shinobi, maybe a month ago with Shinobi, and I was talking about the advantage of being in proximity to information has a lot to do with how fast you excel in this world. If you're in a hub, which is filled with a lot of information and high net worth and networking individuals, you're going to rise the ranks of the classes a lot faster than somebody who was born in a jungle in the middle of South America, right?
Yeah.
Right. The only thing they know is probably survival, right? And then you can take that up next level. You got the kid in Arkansas who, lives on a farm and they got chickens and they tend to their own. He'd be lucky if he has Wi-Fi, right? Now imagine somebody who, they're the highest level of experience they have with technology is Wi-Fi, right? Like, how are you going to get them involved in crypto? How are you even going to start to explain crypto to them? And, but somebody who is born in New York City, where some of these digital ideas are abundant and just part of your normal everyday life, just especially like taking public transportation, how some of these things, how transactions happen digitally, it's just quite different than other rural areas. So yeah, you can pull yourself by the bootstraps, but sometimes we need people to show other people the way. Like, hey, You know, I spoke to consulted quite a few people, and I'm like, where do you live? That's like sometimes one of the first questions I ask. Where do you live? It's like, all right, well, if you want to do that career, you need to get the hell up out of where you are. Right?
Yeah.
You know, you might need to move to Cali or one of the major markets like Texas, Florida, right? If you want to excel and get, you know, more careers. Otherwise, you need somebody to show you how to do it online, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I think YouTube is so great. Like you have your platform, Wendy's platform, where people can tap in and get access to information. I think that's what makes this generation so different, is that people can just tap in, and it's like they're getting all the downloads from New York City by being in New York City, but they're still in Arkansas getting it through their Wi-Fi. And I think these things are great. But sometimes still you need that person to retweet that onto your timeline, right?
Yeah.
Or run into it on Instagram, because you might be, let's say you're on Instagram, that algorithm might just have you in a bubble and you'll
Yeah.
never
Echo
even,
chamber.
yeah, right. So you get stuck in these bubbles, and Twitter's like that too, where you can get stuck in a bubble. You only see a certain type of message, certain type of viewpoint, certain types of information. And so that's like the second half of the problem. Can people pull themselves up by the bootstrap? Or that's the first half of the problem. Now, can people pull themselves up by the bootstrap is the second half of the problem. It's like, well, once they have access to information, now it's just, do you have the ambition and the want to go and desire to go and do it and achieve what you want to achieve, right? And I think that Black people are in no position to complain about our position in society, because there are enough of us who are willing to help and provide. I give a wealth of information out to people, and I give my access to people. And, you know, Carl, civil right, you know, there's a lot of dope dudes. Like, there's a lot of people, Crypto Blood, you know, a lot of people who give great information. And they're sort of pushed to the back in favor of somebody who's going to complain about white people, right? And kind of keep the political circus going.
The
And
racial war going. And
yeah, that stuff is sensationalized, and you know.
Yeah, no, I think you make some interesting points there, especially about people being programmed, and you sort of saying, well, you're privileged because, you know, your father was woke. He sort of instilled an idea into you that, you know, you can do what you want despite the color of your skin, despite what people may tell you.
Yeah.
But in terms of sort of showing, like you said, showing people where their bootstraps are, or telling people that you do have bootstraps. Okay, so we have people online, like you said, that they can follow, like yourself. You have a lot of successful Black people, which, you know, can sort of show them that things are possible. But do you think we need more? Because when I was, you know, I'm here in the UK, I saw what was going on during the whole Black Lives Matter thing, you know, the riots on the streets. And despite, you know, the negativity that sort of comes with Black Lives Matter, that aside, there were people on the streets that were in pain, and they are unable to sort of see beyond their circumstances. So at what point can we sort of instill something here? Do you think that we need, I don't know, do you think we need like a Martin Luther King kind of energy going on there? Like somebody that's going to come up and sort of speak directly to Black people and sort of say, like, you know, you can? Is it the education system that needs to be changed? Because honestly, in my opinion, no president is going to do this. No Black president. You know, you had Obama. You know, Obama, I don't really think instilled much faith in the Black community, honestly. I know you've got Michelle Obama, which is supposed to be this icon for Black young girls, but there's still an issue there. So how do you wake them up?
You don't.
You don't.
You don't.
There you go.
You don't. What we have to understand is that there is always going to be the dumb, deaf, and blind. See, I come from the school of thought of the 5%ers, you know, and 5% is going to be 5%. Only 5% of nation is going to be righteous with their wokeness. Then you have the other 15%, you know, who are awake, but they play the game, like they grift, and they're the politicians, and they know how this whole system works.
Like Joe Biden. Like, I'm straight up believing Joe Biden knows what he's doing. He knows how the Democratic Party are not helping your side. Like, it's not helping.
Exactly, but he's enriching himself, right, and his people and his family, right? So then you have, you know, so again, we come down to this 80-20 rule, right? And it's like 20% of people influence the other 80%, right? So 80% are dumb, deaf, and blind. Now, this thing is going to cross racial barriers. No matter where you go, whatever nation you have, 80% of people are going to fall lockstep with the propaganda. And of course, this is going to vary based upon nations, right? And it's going to vary, especially too with homogenous places like China. It's homogenous, and there's a lot of Chinese pride that the Chinese people have in their heritage, and they believe in working together. So it's going to be a little bit different than a place like America, which is supposed to be so diverse and a melting pot. But 80% of people are going to be dumb, deaf, and blind, and that crosses racial barriers. I run into white people all the time. I'm just like, oh, you're just dumb, deaf, and blind. There's nothing I can do to really help you. You know, so what did the 5% nation do? Well, what we do is the people who can see, those who have eyes who can see, ears who can hear, then we lend them a voice and we show them the way. We don't.
You can't force people.
Yeah, we don't concern ourselves with people who we have to force to conform. It's actually a sin to force people to conform to your ideas. Like, if you want to go out in the street and you want to protest and you want to, you know, wear pronouns, who am I to tell you what you're doing is wrong? Knock your fucking self out. I don't give a shit, right? Just leave me alone, right? So what I believe in is just making a message that's just so powerful that it drowns out these other messages. And I think that's what's more powerful. You know, what is your message? What did you build? Because it's not that, you know, Black people just need an alternative way of life. They need an alternative view. They need somebody brave enough that's going to step up and just show them another way. And when they see another way and they see that other way is working and they see the Lambos and the Ferraris,
I like
they'll fall in line. You know, you see the protest stop and say, you know what, I kind of, you know, I think I want to be rich. I think I want to be one of the rich, right? And they start seeing that it's okay to have luxury. It's okay to live a good life. Socialists do a good job of making people hate being rich or hate the rich. And they like to prey on the weak. But, you know, let's talk about Black Lives Matter and people on the street. You know, I think these people have a legitimate gripe, right? Like, there is a police problem in America. I'm not going to doubt that. There is a racial problem in America. And I know they feel pain. I know they feel pain every time one of these incidents are blown up on the media.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? What they don't realize is that their emotions are being tugged and pulled. You see, there are a million problems with the world. There are a million problems with the Black community. We can just start with the top three. Top three are diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease.
I wasn't expecting those top three. I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, go on.
Those are the top three killers of the Black community outside of abortion, right? Nobody talks about that. Nobody's marching in the streets for that, right? Yeah. A Big Mac gonna kill your ass before a cop do, right? These are the facts. So who is telling you, or who is selecting the problems that you decide to fight?
Who?
I can't say who.
Okay.
For my safety and yours.
Oh. All right. We'll chat after.
Yeah, offline. So, you know, and it doesn't even matter who, because we're going to drown their message out. We're going to make them irrelevant, you know. But who says police brutality is the problem? Because I don't think police brutality is the first and foremost problem. I believe that there are problems that you can solve that will solve that just by being police brutality is a branch of a bigger problem.
Mm-hmm. The bigger like a symptom of the cause.
Yes. So the bigger problem, I would say, is inefficient economics.
Mm-hmm.
The economics within the Black community is broken. Therefore, they are left begging Democrats for health care, begging Democrats for minimum wage or welfare or whatever it is. When really these problems, like Jason Whitlock was on my show last week, and he said NFL has produced more black male millionaires than anything else. I had to think about it. And I'm like, he's absolutely right. So where is this wealth going when I believe over 60% of these athletes are going to lose that wealth by the time they retire or a few years after they retire, right? So where is this wealth going, right? So it's not like we don't have the wealth. We see rappers in the strip club and they might throw $1 million in the strip club in one night. I've seen a couple of times happen. So it's not like the wealth isn't there, right? It's just a matter of what we do with it once we get it. Lauryn Hill had this line. She said, it's not about what you cop. It's about what you keep. So you can get money. The question is, can you keep it? Right? And then can you multiply it? There's not enough diversity in small business amongst the black community. I think that's a huge problem. We tend to center around the same types of businesses. If you take the top 10 black business directories, right? They like to make these directories. Oh, check out all the black businesses, and then they got the same fashion, hair, entertainment, right? Same thing over and over again. And these are lucrative industries. Do not get me wrong. There's a lot of money in beauty. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry in beauty, right? The problem is we start competing with each other instead of trying to find complementary solutions within the business, right? So right now, like the eyelash thing is popping. So everybody's getting into aesthetics, right? And everybody's doing aesthetics. So it's like, are we thinking about the peripheral ideas that can happen to facilitate some of these businesses, right? And I don't think we're taking a look at that. I don't think we're taking a good, strong look at how we optimize some of these industries and become middlemen. You know, we don't control none of the supply chain, which is a whole nother story.
I'm gonna jump in. So a couple of things that really very much about sort of understanding, really, it's just business, isn't it? Whether it be financial literacy or, you know, learning how to sort of diversify within the sort of things that the black community offers when it comes to business. But my question is then, the black community, right, to use this kind of term, you know, America's huge. It's huge, you know. I don't know how many black people there are in America. I couldn't give you a stat. Maybe you know.
40.
But it's very
40 million.
How many?
40
million.
40 plus million. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So 40 million. Right. So it's very. The way I look at it is very difficult to sort of. Do you really think it's that much of a community? Do you really think that 40 million people are that much? You know, black people in the South the same as black people on the East Coast, on the West Coast? Like, is there really this kind of community whereby, you know, there's a conversation that can happen amongst 40 million people, which is, guys, you know, let's diversify our business. Let's do you know what I mean? Or do you think the problem should be tackled more at like a national level, put race aside, and sort of say, you know, people, you know, let's teach financial literacy in schools so that whites and black people sort of understand financial literacy. You know, when you make your $1 million, know how to invest that, how to multiply it. Do you see what I mean?
So once again, we've fallen back upon depending on the state.
Yeah.
Never do that.
That's true, but I'm just kind of like thinking.
We don't. As black people, we do not want to do anything nationally. We don't want to do anything in cooperation with other races, right? Outside of economics. I think when we're talking about building the next generation, that is the responsibility of the elders of each race or ethnicity, right? So grandma got to teach mama, mama got to teach daughter, right? So economics, do you think the kids that excel in finance learn economics in school, or do you think it's in the family?
Oh, absolutely not in school, because they don't teach it. So it is in the family.
Well, that's where the responsibility relies. It relies on the family. But what if they can't?
But like, what if you're just born into that situation where you can't get it from the family? But then, like, it's like we said, you'd get it online and you'd look.
Right. And that's why I said that's the big problem, having access to information. Like I said, we got option gangs, right? Option gangs, Carl Civil right? He's showing people how to trade options. One of the dopest guys out here doing it. Black guy. Why isn't he on the cover of Black Enterprise magazine?
Why?
That's my point. You see what I'm saying? It's because he doesn't think like the rest, because because they seen him in a MAGA hat. It's a problem. But this is a black dude from New York that is as real as you can get. But and still
make a proper difference.
Yes, and understands Wall Street. He understands the streets and he understands Wall Street, right? So you're a little too real for them to push to the forefront. And that's the problem. These people aren't getting the looks that they should, and the information is not getting out there. But you said, I think it's 47 million now, the Black community is. Yeah. So I think let's look at social media. Do you realize like how much Black people have in common and is shown on social media? Like some of these trending topics that come from Black Twitter, like Black Twitter could easily on some days have like the top 3 trending topics just based upon celebrity gossip.
Black Twitter or Black American Twitter, just out of interest?
I would say Black American Twitter, which is Black.
Okay, cool.
Black Twitter is Black American Twitter. Fair enough. Yeah. So, you know, some of the celebrity gossip can last, you know, conversations. Like, what was the conversation that just happened recently? I saw #1 trending topic last night. Who was it? Oh, Kanye, right? Well, Kanye's Kanye. He kind of
he took over Twitter. Yeah, he penetrated all sorts of Twitter, not just Black Twitter.
Yeah. Who was the other guy? I mean, it happens all the time, right? Like Odell Beckham. Some little groupie said something about Odell Beckham, and Black Twitter had a ball with it. Like, there's a lot of different verses. For example, the verses. You ever see the verses? No. So verses, they have like quote unquote battles. So one of the battles they had was Snoop Dogg versus DMX, and they come and they play like their top 20 hits or whatever. They select 20 records and they play them. You never seen this before?
I've not seen it. See? Maybe I have. I don't know. I don't know. You show me after. Leave me a link.
This is huge in the Black community. Like, everybody who's Black knows about this, right? And that's why I said, like, you might be in a bubble. Like, you're in London, you're in a bubble. You don't know anything about this stuff, right? And this is what happens with social media. Something can trend #1 and you wouldn't even know about it, right? Because you're in London and we're talking about American culture. Then you have the last one they did was Patti LaBelle, Gladys Knight, right? Like that's a classic. Brandy versus Monica was another classic, right? You familiar with Brandy and Monica? It might be a little too old.
I know of this, but like not as much as you are.
Okay, yeah.
You have to show me after. We need to exchange some links.
So you know, they'll get 1 million views on some of these things on Instagram Live. A million views, live viewers, 1 million live viewers. They're over-indexing what people would do on TV. And this is Black culture. So when you have that many eyes that go to one single place, think about what advertisers would like to do, knowing they have 1 million live eyes focused in on one spot. That is also an opportunity for you to plug your own propaganda to reprogram your people. So yes, there's a community and they meet at these places and these venues, these digital venues. So there's a lot of opportunity to disseminate the correct information. I just don't think we capture the opportunities.
I see.
But it is definitely a community. A lot of people, especially white people, like to say, oh, there is no such thing as a Black community. Well, to white people, it might not be. But, you know, when people say, is there a difference between a Black man from Chicago, a Black man, St. Louis, New York, Miami, and Houston? Hell yeah, it is. Hell yeah, it is. Without a question, there's definitely differences. It's dialects, dress, language, all of that. It's all different. You know, in New York, you whack. In Atlanta, you green as fuck. They mean the same thing, right? So there are differences, but there are points of unification within the culture that we all meet up on. A lot of them might be URL rap battles, you know, but there are places of unification, and there are a lot of unsaid gestures that we understand about each other. For example, when we typed in child, like child, please. Are you familiar with that talk?
No, I'm not. No.
Okay, so you know, when we say child, please, that's very much Southern twang.
How do you spell it?
Well, we spell it like CHILE, right?
Oh, okay.
But we're basically saying child, please, right? We say child, please. Now it's spelled CHILE, and some girl grabs the TikTok and goes to TikTok and she says, chili, please. So she doesn't even, she's reading it, but she doesn't know where the spelling comes. So as I said, we have like our own community that people have no idea what's happening inside this bubble. So a lot of things can be possible. We just have to give people access to that information and use these digital venues for that.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear, that there is a place, digitally, which can bring everybody together, and it can be a good place to sort of target and sort of wake people up if that's, what you want to do. But I am conscious of time. So I also kind of wanted to chat to you about crypto. You mentioned Lambos earlier. So I don't fully know. We chatted a little bit earlier, but you obviously, you co-founded, you're a partner of something to do with crypto. Tell us.
Coinbitsapp.com. Automatic Bitcoin investing. You ain't got to think about it. It costs $1 per transaction. Wonderful app. Our users are very happy, especially because we go off the dollar cost averaging investment strategy, which is the smartest investment strategy you can do across all asset classes. So yeah, it's great things happening over there. Shout out to Maher and Yusuf, my partners who started the company and brought me on later on as sort of a branding and marketing arm. And we're just slowly building that company up and looking to do some great things in the future with it. Yeah.
So firstly, how did you get into crypto? And what are your thoughts on Bitcoin?
I mean, being in tech, you kind of have to know about crypto, right?
Yeah.
So, I was in the mobile app space for years and keeping an eye on crypto. So I made a little bit of money when they had the boom in 2017, and, I'm a traditional investor. So I knew to get out at the top. And so everybody else that got hit, I'm just like, oh, sorry for you. I'm a trained traditional investor.
You know what you were doing.
Yeah. But when I saw the crash, I understood something that was very important. And I said, who didn't lose money? And that answer was the exchanges.
Yeah, of course.
And in my head, I said, I'd love to be an exchange. So that actually manifested. And here I am working with Maher and Yusuf on that Bitcoin and trying to turn it into an exchange. Some legal communist issues involved, but just some monetary hurdles we'll have to get over.
Yeah, I hear you. But in terms of, like Bitcoin being the next financial revolution, I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, I think it was Jason Williams that tweeted like the Bitcoin is going to replace the dollar, or it's going to be, America's main currency. Is this even likely given that it can't scale right now, although people are building on top of it? You've got the Lightning Network, which hopefully sort of, fixes this.
A lot of people have, all right, for example, the investor who comes in and invests at the seed round, right, is very happy when the company has a Series A round because he's made money, as long as the valuation has increased in the company. And so on and so forth. So I hate to call it a pyramid scheme, but
oh, damn.
But these people are pushing, in my opinion, a pyramid scheme,
Oh, you think Bitcoin is a pyramid scheme?
No, I think that's what it is to these people that push that type of rhetoric. Like Bitcoin is going to do all these great things.
Oh, I see.
Right. I don't see Bitcoin doing all these great things. Bitcoin is very interesting. The technology is very interesting. I think blockchain is a great piece of technology. I think there are many coins out there that solve many different types of problems. I love that it diversified money. That's what I love about crypto. It diversified money. And I think that's what money needed. It needed to be diversified. People needed other options. So I love crypto. I don't want to just pile on the Bitcoin maximalist thing and say Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. I think that's the wrong thing to do. I think Bitcoin is not a good means of exchange, but I do enjoy it as a store of value. And I think it can be used as a great store of value. And I think that's what it should be used for. At its current state, obviously, we know
gold, digital gold.
Like gold, yeah, like digital gold, correct. I don't see it being used as money. As we know, it just physically can't work. The technology don't work. It don't work to do transactions. I'm not waiting 30 minutes to buy a cup of coffee. It's just not going to happen. And Lightning Network is just not the solution. I think Lightning Network can work in small communities, like small trusted communities, right? So I think there is some viability for that. But yeah, these pumps of hope, I just look at it as just more propaganda, marketing, people trying to find ways to boost their ego, trying to boost their brand, using Bitcoin to boost their brand, making all these gestures of grandeur. I don't get involved in it much. I don't respond to it much. It's just embellishment, and I don't know. I find it childish. I think we should be honest and tell people exactly what it is. 60% of the Bitcoin mining power comes out of China. I don't call Bitcoin Bitcoin. I call it China coin.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what I call it. Yeah.
That is, yeah.
And Bitcoin can't be for the people because the people cannot afford the Bitcoin mining machines.
It's an interesting one because there is that kind of Bitcoin maximalist rhetoric in the space. And a lot of people have sort of said that kind of claim that the mining pools are centralized in China have been debunked, which I think there needs to be more of an explanation on that. I don't think it's fully been debunked in layman's terms. So I think there needs to be more explanation on that. But it's an interesting one. I think I hear you when people talk about crazy claims, and I don't think it's going to replace the dollar. I think something will replace the dollar. I don't know whether it's going to be Bitcoin, but I definitely think that we are moving forward in terms of there being cryptocurrencies being the global currency, right? So I think there will be a form of digital money which will replace the dollar. But I also think that we're going to see a sort of push and pull between whether. So I don't know how much of crypto or whatever, but you have CBDCs, right? So these are like central banks digital currencies. So I think we're going to have a push and pull between that and the people's cryptocurrency, right, which is decentralized and it's for the people. So I think we're moving forward in that way, but I don't know who's going to win. It's going to be a tug of war between the people. You don't think somebody has to win? Surely there'll be a war between the people and the government's coin.
No, they will both coexist at the same exact time.
Interesting.
Like positive and negative in an atom, they will balance each other out. That's what will happen. There is no war between the two coins. One has one purpose and the other one serves another completely different purpose. One is a machine to levy debt upon people, and the other one is a machine to free debt from people. So both will exist.
Oh, it's interesting. I can't see them coexisting when people find the power of crypto. Even when you look at things like privacy coins, right? Like,
okay, I'll show you an example.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Beautiful new house you want to go into. Need to put a down payment. Mm-hmm. We only accept USD coin. What are you going to do about that?
I'm going to have USD coin.
Boom. Done. They're going to control it at the higher levels of banking. If you go to Amazon and Amazon does not accept your little rinky dinky coin, what are you going to do? Are you just going to stop shopping at Amazon? Do you really think you're going to?
No, of course not. But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying, so then the government's coin wins.
No, it doesn't win.
Because I think what we have now it's sort of coexisting-ish, but only within a community, right? Only within crypto. I can't exactly go spend my crypto anywhere or pay my rent in crypto. I can't do that.
Well, what does win mean? When you say win what? How do they win?
Win is in like becoming that. Win is in like becoming that global currency.
There will be a global currency. It will not be the one for the people, though. It will be the central banking coin going to win.
Well, then that's what I'm saying. So then I would say, okay,
the people are way too pussy to fight the central bankers. So the central bankers are going to win. We can't even win the pedo war. We can't even tell the left that pedophilia is bad. You think we're going to win a coin war? Do you really think we're going to win a coin war if we can't protect children?
That's what I'm saying, though. That's what I'm saying. So I think one will win. I'm not necessarily saying that crypto will be outlawed. I think privacy coins are different. But I'm not saying crypto will be outlawed. I'm just saying I think one would win when it comes to being mass adopted.
I think that the global establishment crypto coin will be a win for the independent coin. You see, they need each other. Okay. If the global, corrupt coin does not exist, you don't have a purpose for the other coins.
I hear you. I hear
They
you. I hear
need
you.
each other. They
I hear you.
literally, even the crypto coins they use. When you say Bitcoin, oh, what is the talking point? It's not how great Bitcoin is. It's always in juxtaposition to the dollar. Why can't you talk about Bitcoin and remove the dollar from the conversation completely? Why can't you
That's
do
cool.
that?
That's a cool point. I like that. I respect that. That's cool.
It's
It's
always
true,
in
actually.
juxtaposition to each other. So, which tells me, oh, Bitcoin must not be that great if they can't. It's just like the right, the conservatives. Only thing they can do is put things in juxtaposition to the left. Well, what is your ideology? What do you stand for? How is it great? How is it going to benefit people? Don't tell me about the left. Tell me what you have to offer. Same thing with Bitcoin. Don't tell me about the dollar. Tell me what you have to offer. You have nothing to offer. Okay, then leave me the hell alone. I can stack coins, I can stack my Satoshis, and I can invest in it like gold, and I can do well for myself. But don't sell me these dreams of grandeur. Don't tell me these dreams of a global coin, because you can't even transact a cup of coffee. I don't want to hear about it. I just don't want to hear
I
about
hear
it.
you.
Right.
Yeah, no, I
So,
hear you.
but they don't need to win. You see, the bigger the global corrupt coin gets, the bigger the, let's call it, the black market gets.
Okay.
It's just, they're going
I
to
get it.
grow.
They complement each other in a really perverse kind of weird way. I hear you. I hear you. I think that's really interesting. But it's funny, you mentioned the right sort of talk about what they can do in relation to the left. But actually, what I'll say on like a leaving note, because we are approaching an hour, for me, Joe Biden is a really interesting candidate because I don't even know what he stands for other than he's not Trump. Like
Right.
that's Joe Biden, right?
Right.
So,
That's his argument, right? His argument
yeah.
is, I'm not Trump.
Yeah. It's like, that's not an argument. It's
Right.
not.
You have nothing to offer me, right?
Yeah, other than high taxes and
Yeah.
socialism. But.
And that's the problem with the 80%, the dumb, deaf, and blind. Are you allowing these juxtaposition arguments to happen, or are you asking these people, no, what do you really stand for?
I hear you. I hear you. This has been a really interesting conversation, and it's been kind of fun because it's kind of circled
Yes.
background.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to thank you so much. It's been really great chatting to you. I want to thank everyone that tuned in. I think there's been a lot of interesting comments. I haven't really spoken about that, but yeah, there's been interesting comments. So thank you so much. I'm going to end the broadcast, and we'll see you all next week, Thursday, 12 EST. Bye.